Hello, 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 hello. How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? God, I love audio levels. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to our population run in EU5. Now, before we get stuck into it, do let me know how the audio levels are looking. We've been struggling with them a little bit, but hopefully it's a bit better this session. So if you guys could let me know, that would be bloody brilliant. So where were we? So we were working on getting our post-Black Death population back up. We're gaining a little bit. We've got some good settlements going. But if I remember right... Oh no, we are fully built, that's brilliant. How's our market doing? Still some progress being made, but worthwhile investments. So let's get cracking on, I guess. So this game, was always meant to be trying to get as much population as possible. However, the Black Death and smallpox has hit us quite hard. What this does mean, however, is that we are sort of safe in the meantime from diseases, because we have a lot of disease resistance is built up. Now, obviously, this means that a lot have died to cause that. However, you've always got to look for a silver lining. The economic power of Santander. I'll just give you a little bit of money away. So let's have a look at our markets whilst we're here. EU5 has a brilliant economic system, but it's definitely not the most easy to understand one in the world. It's mostly automated at the moment, but we've got some headspace, so let's see if we can get some stuff going. So we want to definitely import sugar. We really need... No, we don't need fine cloth. Export the gems. Everyone needs gems, apparently. Some jewelry. Some more sugar. Let's see how that plays in a bit. Our parliament is close to capacity. And it doesn't look like we're getting lucky with a tax event, sadly. So whether we bite the bullet and take a bad agenda to pass a cheap cathedral, I'm not sure. Cutting our burger taxes, however, by 20%. How much? They're losing money anyway, so it's not really worth it. I would consider cutting their taxes if they were profitable as an estate, but at the moment they're not. So all we're doing is just giving money essentially back into the ether, and we don't really want to be doing that. So what can we do next? So population in EU5 is a little bit complex, but there are some big mechanics we can get to boost it up a bit. they're pumping themselves into Burgos at the moment. So can we get any food storage buffs to push this up a bit? It's already at 1,000, so that's a bit much for us this time, I'm afraid. However, I always recommend building market villages. Is bloody insane, especially on the new patch. Unfortunately, our trades in Seville didn't work. So, what is our next objective? Let's get our economy going a bit, I think. So in Burgos, we've got some very cheap wool production buildings and RGOs. This means, because we've also got the merino wool modifier as well, which is very good. However, we don't want to overindulge on this because we can sort of create ourselves a bit of a Dutch disease. If we go too hard on the wool industry, when books and the printing press comes out, we take a bit of a hit. But down the line, it's not as productive as it once was. So we've got to be a bit careful, but it's still very worthwhile to have, especially in the early game. What I've sort of found in EU5 so far is if you have a bit of a broad economy, you have lots of markets going at the same time, lots of goods coming in from the New World or even North Africa that you can then sell across Europe, is probably the best place you can be in. But our market is not very strong at the moment, and we need to be careful about that, because if we leave it, we'll put ourselves between a rock and a hard place. Please let me know in the comments, by the way, how the audio levels are doing. I've been working hard on them, and it's cost me an arm and a leg of time, money, and frankly energy, because they somehow seem to be messing up at every instance. But I seem to have an equilibrium at the moment, so do let me know if it's causing any issues, and I'm happy to change stuff. Especially in this stage of the game, I like focusing on RGOs quite a lot, because you have this traditional economy buff here that buffs your raw materials output significantly, your population capacity, and your food production. So it's significantly worthwhile to be working on your RGOs while you have this buff, before you've essentially pushed yourself to a more capitalist economy, if you will. And everything gets pumped back into your market, which then you and your burgers can export. So it's all worthwhile. Be about 2 seconds. Have returned. Let's not demonetize ourselves straight away with Mariah Carey. That is a brilliant little misnomer. My first major YouTube mistake, and it was Death by Mariah Carey. I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of today, but we'll move. So how are we doing for our control? So we've passed the Black Death now, so it's definitely worthwhile working on our roads and getting as much control in our nation as possible. We're going to start with the university there, give us a chance of increasing our amount of universities, which is always worthwhile. Our road cost is quite cheap at the moment, so if we keep making some roads, even if it is to low productive capacity provinces, it's definitely worthwhile. Because the more control you have, the more crown power you have, and it all adds up. We're at 33% crown power at the moment. We've got a crown head of the cabinet, one minister in the... We're commanding an army. What else can we do to buff it up a bit? Have we got a sergeantry? We do. Have we got a royal court? No, we don't. I think a royal court is our next best port of call. Because this will give us 10% crown power and 2% cabinet efficiency nationwide. So it's quite a big buff to get. So we're going to get that going. We can also invite a foreign cleric. I haven't seen this one before. High admin, medium diplo, low military. Oh, basically we need a cabinet minister. I don't really think we need him at the moment. So when we left off last session, we sacrificed a potential PU over Portugal by appointing our youngest son as the heir because he's got some insane stats. Now, let's see if we can marry him off to someone essentially and get him going on that route. Oh, wow. So this is an insane event. So we either let the peasant who's got very rich join the burghers and give our burghers a lot of money. They're trying to build a guild hall, which isn't amazing. But our peasantry are quite profitable, so the money's not going to be wasted. However, they're also building shocking buildings. So I think we're going to allow them to join the burghers, I believe, here. And hopefully we just they do something good with that money. Now, your burghers do build, I believe, better buildings if they are happy with you. So what we can do in the short term is give them a few privileges to buff up their loyalty to us. So trade capacity, for example, would be a good one. And what else can we do? Maritime presence might be useful. Productive efficiency? Yeah, fuck it, why not? We don't want individual apprentices yet. It's quite good in specific situations, but not yet. Now, how are we doing for our silver down here? Oh my god, that's a really early France winning the 100 Years' War. England must have been kicked out of France. Yep, completely. That's insane. Have you got a road built to your silver mine in the burghers market? Well, let's have a look. I believe so, but I can't confirm. I believe it's there. No, we don't. That's a good idea. We'll get on that next. We definitely want to get control there. If not, I might invest in a bailiff. But however, I do think it is close enough to get control there directly, even if it's not a huge amount. Visit from some shady people, pay a bit of money and get a spy network on Tunis. Well, we're just focusing on not murdering our entire population at the moment, so let's not waste that. So they're making a merchant's guild down here. That's not horrific. They're also making a lot of roads, so that investment in burghers was very useful because they've just spent it building loads of roads, and we love that. What they're trying to build next. Artisan guilds, something that's also quite good. So I think we can put some weight on the rumour that if you do have a higher loyalty estate, they will make you better buildings. How are we doing for bridges? Because if we get some bridges going... Now I can't confirm we can actually build it anywhere. Ah, we can. Brilliant. Let's get some bridges going. Bridges are really good as they directly increase your control in these provinces by reducing proximity cost. However, they're only viable, obviously, on rivers and near your capital. But in places where you can build them, especially around your capital here, it's going to be very useful. And not only would it give us more money, but it will buff our crown power a bit. More levies, and we can't be complaining at all. There goes our royal court. Now our royal court will give us a good amount of crown power as well. Market access is only 85% though, however. So we might have to work on that in a bit. Where is the market centre? It's in Burgos. So it might be worth actually building a... Oh, we do have a road to Burgos. Brilliant. Are we going to change our capital? Well, I'm a bit undecided. I mean, when I usually play Castille, I move it straight to Sevilla because you take this land from Morocco and Granada, you get your PU over Portugal, potentially the south of Aragon and stuff like that, and you just start consolidating the entire south. You can put your navy in the channel here, you can get really high maritime presence, which gives you huge amounts of control over your coastline. Same for the northern coast of Morocco, and there's a lot of really good traders here. So you can get an insane economy by doing that. However, what we're sort of focusing on this game is population, and most of our population is in the north here. So we've got to sort of think of what is best for us in this situation. And at the moment, I think we're going to stick with the north, but I might change my mind on this later down the line. But we've got a lot to go. I think a market warehouse is probably going to be useful here. Same with a marketplace. We've got quite a few goods. I mean, our trades in Burgos aren't the most profitable, but we do have a lot of goods that we can get going round. So more marketplaces are always useful, especially when you have no immediate needs in your market. And if we look at Burgos here, we don't really have very many issues. Like, we've got a bit of fruit, but we can't really do much about that. Some books, we definitely can do something about that, and I will. But that will increase our dye shortage and our paper. So we should definitely consider that and get some dyes and paper going quickly. Get some paper. How are we doing for dyes? Oh, they're not profitable. Where are they? Can't hurt. Focus on innovative and literacy is very good for pop growth, right? I mean, literacy is obviously insane in the game anyway. Let me just focus on my heir for a second, and then we'll hop straight back to that. So we want to get him a good royal marriage. So we could try it and go for an England one, albeit it is our first cousin, which I'll be totally honest, I don't know if there is an inbreeding sort of situation in this game yet, but I really wouldn't be surprised, as it's quite a big thing in CK, and obviously they've sort of combined everything good out of all of the Paradox games so far and melded it into EU5 so far. However, I mean, I think we've been a bit stupid not to. Let's give it a go, why not? Spread our seed far and wide. I regret saying that. So yes, literacy and pop growth. Pop growth, in the early game, literacy isn't huge for. As you can see here, we're getting 0.54 here, which is alright. And in our settlement provinces down here, we're getting a lot more in 1.57. So that's why we spam settlements everywhere. That's why we've increased our market villages to give food storage to rural provinces. Even stuff like here, for instance. Literacy is obviously insane. Not necessarily for pop growth, albeit it does help that later on. But for literacy, for research, sorry. Research is insane. If we look here, it progresses us to innovative, skill of new artists, and research progress, which is the big one. Now, we definitely want to push to innovative rather than traditionalist to increase our cultural influence, our max literacy, and make it easier to embrace the institutions. So it's definitely worth it. But in terms of pop growth directly, it's not the biggest thing in the world. But there are some huge techs to buff that population, so we really want to get as far into innovative as possible. Do we want to... Italian? We probably don't need it, to be honest. Use our money on our economy while we can. Because it's only going to get worse. So let's have a look at Sevilla for a bit. I've sort of neglected this market a little bit. which you really shouldn't do in your games. That is not advised. Make a few scriptoriums. We've got a bit of a copper shortage, so we can make a bit. Cotton is quite a high value resource, so also worth doing. Now we'll have a look at our parliament. So we are currently decentralized. However, we want to get centralized as fast as possible. So to do that, we will do our cabinet inside our capital, as that pushes us slightly towards centralization. Bolster the government is quite good for crown power. However, that's not our main one at the moment. Promote urbanization is huge though, as is gravel roads. So what do we think is best for us here? Gravel roads, where we can just sort of continue spamming out roads for a bit, getting as much control up here as possible. I swear I built a road there. Oh well. However, our control is only sort of stretching to the mountains here anyway. We do also have the option for urbanization, which will give us a huge free town up here in Bilbao. And Bilbao's got quite a good resource. We can make a bit of a tool factory up here. So I think we'll go for that and give it a go, even if it is quite far away from our capital. 30% though, so it's going to be quite hard to get through. Reduce opinion is quite a nice easy one. Address spiritual retreat complaints. Oh yeah, we can definitely get rid of that. Brilliant. Toll castles. Surprisingly enough, I'm going to keep the toll castles because more nobles means they're buying more stuff in our economy, which means it's feeding back and giving more stuff to our economy. So we're just going to push for that for now. Now, what's something to know is that this isn't set. I really hope it goes in Bilbao, as that would be quite good to make a bit of a tool factory for us. However, it can change up any time until the deadline. So it's not set, and you can't really abuse it, which I do like. In EU4, like if you had held it then and it told you what you were going to get, you could quite easily abuse it, and it made the game a lot easier than it probably should have been. And I mean, just personally, I'm really enjoying EU5 so far. It's definitely different, as it's an amalgamation of all Paradox's best hits. But it's a breath of fresh air. And considering it was quite an expensive release, but however, you look at the new games on the market at the moment, the AAAs, they're coming up at 80, 90 quid, $100, and Paradox is half that. So for what we're getting for our buck, it is not bad at all. Now, I do recommend going against debt as much as possible, but something like that for an artist is definitely worth it, especially one with high skill like he did. But if you do take debt, you don't want to pay it back straight away. You want to hold it and let those months tick down and pay it off right at the end, because you do have to pay off the full amount of interest if you pay it back now. Unless you go bankrupt, of course. There we go. So we now have a town in Bilbao. And the good thing is about the Parliament mechanic is that it upgrades the town straight away. So we can get straight into cracking on with it. So it has decreased our RGO size significantly. But what we can do is build a bunch of tool makers up in Bilbao. Because they'll get a 10% production efficiency from the iron in the settlement. Growth of Cordoba. Sure, why not? So can we push to centralization through any of our laws? Let's have a look. See, we will have options here. However, 10% proximity cost, integration speed, we could move here. That is stronger. But at the moment, having integration speed isn't the worst thing in the world, but we're not integrating. So yeah, this would be better. We'll consider that in our next parliament. This gives us 25% wool output, which is crazy. No wonder our wool RGOs are so strong. Let's see if we can buff them up a bit more while we're at it. Got to make the most of our Merino wool modifiers as they are incredible in this game. Yeah, there we go. Let's definitely upgrade all of these. And all of that will get exported anyways. Wool, surprisingly, is 2.5 ducats. It's a lot more than you'd expect for bloody sheep, really. But it does add up and it is worthwhile. So we're now at a surplus of 50. Our tax base is doing really well. Might be time to consider a few more market villages to increase our food storage in provinces. It's not the biggest buff in the world, don't get me wrong, but it is worthwhile. So I always recommend it if you're looking to increase your population. You can see in the top left here, large food storage in province, and that's all added up with your market villages as they give 50 each. Ah, here we go. So the Crown Prince of Asturias. Give him a little bit of a title and he gets some insane stats. So now our heir is 100, 191. But if we get him to join the Hungarian Order of Chivalry, he is now a god heir. That is insane. Another good event, free gold. Definitely not saying no to that. So we've got a decent amount of money in the bank now. So what do we want to be spending it on? Well, in terms of Burgos, we don't really have many issues, but we do have a humongous wool surplus now. So having a lot of spinners getting going is probably a good idea. And then if we're going to have a cloth surplus, let's get some tailors up as well. Now, same for Sevilla. Let's have a look. So Sevilla, jewelry is going to be quite productive. Just want to check that, because jewelry can be a bit of a red herring. That, oh my god, that is the best heir I think I've ever seen. How can we like commit suicide? Our king is now a ruler, and he is on a ship, and the ship is in the sea, so hopefully he perishes. Because we are literally giving up AP with Portugal for it. However, like, just, wow, he is insane. Like, wow. The buffs we're going to get from that are astronomical. So now back to the Sevilla market quickly. So we've got, let's have a look at our surpluses. Lots of livestock, lots of wool again. We can make some more wool, however. Will be expensive RGOs in that market. I wish I knew they were 50 before I did that. Let's see if we can get some more wood going, because if we can improve our wood production, we can decrease the cost of our RGOs in the future. The pen is backed by the sword. Well, that's the opposite of the EU5 event that sort of gave you a small debuff. That's decent. Antagonism reduction. I mean, we don't really have any in this game anyway. The only war we fought was a bit of a money war in Aragon, and then Morocco intervened and smacked us. But everything works, everything's good. Can't really be complaining. So, oh my god, yes, it has happened. So we have literally, I'm not even joking, we've given up a Portuguese PU to get this guy on the throne. So question to you guys, do you think it's worth it? 100, 100, 100. So we now have our new king, who is quite possibly the best king I have ever seen. Now we're going to get him to embrace Castilian culture as well. He's been ruled by his Portuguese mother. There we go. We're not going to make him a general and admiral straight away, as we don't want him to die prematurely, even if it is going to hurt our crown power a little bit. So putting our king on that navy actually murdered him. That's brilliant. Right, so our new court, we have the long-standing debate. Yes, it did. We are just putting him on the navy in the middle of the sea. He drowned. So you can use this track for literally anyone. Like in old EU4, before a lot of the good changes, you used to just be able to put your ruler as an admiral, send him out to the middle of the sea, and just delete the ships. And they would just die guaranteed. And obviously they realised people were abusing it, so they got rid of it. However, it seems that is sort of back, and I am not complaining. So we can go to Burgos, which is up here. Well, it's not. I'm being an idiot. Burgos is here. Now, that would give us better control over the north. Is that worth it? In terms of our population, it's quite a lot in Burgos. We've got Bilbao up here. But our population centres around here would sort of get left behind a bit. Burgos also doesn't really have a huge river to abuse with bridges. Sevilla is always a good spot, but we've invested so much in the north, I don't really think of moving it would be a great idea. I think I'm just going to stick with Valladolid at the moment. So unfortunately, our god heir can't be in the cabinet because he's the king. That's the only bad bit. So we need to... There are no eligible characters. I've never seen that before, to take on this role in the cabinet. Interesting. That's a new one to me. Is the Varsala Vassal? Yeah, they are. That's good. I'm going to keep improving our relations with people because it can't hurt. But we need to quickly try and get... Please be a prodigy. Please be a prodigy. We need to quickly try and get a new cabinet minister. So how can we do this? We can go to people, characters, and see if there's anyone half decent that we might want to put into our cabinet. If we take our brother, who's the heir of Portugal, off the army, sure, we'll create some art, why not? We can potentially make him a cabinet minister, which would be good for us because you get huge buffs for having people in your crown estate as your cabinet ministers. This guy's our nobility, unfortunately. Just need to wait for a little bit more money. Maybe one tick. I mean, our income's getting ginormous. Look at this. Like, wow, insane. How is our road doing to the Silver Province? We can go a bit more direct. Okay, we'll get that done. See, there's so much to spend in E5. Always get distracted. There we go. Now, we can also make him the head of the cabinet with a bit more money. And this will give us a huge buff to our crown power. Which I will show you guys in a second once we've saved up enough money for it. Or we could cheekily go into debt. However, I do try to avoid that as much as possible. but it seems to keep getting us spending a lot of money. That is a good event. I've got to take that. It is taking 5 legitimacy, or giving us 5 legitimacy. So let's see if we can spend legitimacy anywhere. However, we do have a lot of privileges already. Can we give anything away that's going to be useful for us? Maybe not. I might have done it already. I've gone a bit overboard with the the privileges scheme. I've gone way too hard into it. However, nothing I can really do about that now. We will just spend the money. Oh, fuck you, event. We'll take some loans for it because this buff is huge. Come on. Pray for a good trait. Trait. It must happen at the end of the month, surely? Not a glitch? There we go, Scholar. Oh, that is brilliant. We have done very well there. This guy is shaping up to be potentially the greatest king of all time. Ah, that's what we were doing. Head of the cabinet. So this gives us crown head of the cabinet to 25% crown power, monthly legitimacy. Insane. It's definitely worth the money. Now, wool is apparently still insanely profitable, so we've got to be careful of our skill shortages, but we can keep investing in it. Also a few horses. All these goods that are just going to be bought from our nobles just pushes more money straight back into our economy. It's always worthwhile. And what next? We got beeswax as well. Why not? It's not the most expensive resource in the world, but it is useful in a lot of buildings. So it's definitely worth expanding. While we're so far into traditional economies, undoubtedly worth just spamming RGOs, especially straight after the Black Death, where you're going to struggle getting the burghers you need for your country. Whereas you do have a lot of peasants that can be easily upgraded to labourers, especially if you spam market villages to death, which I absolutely have. So let's make ample wine, get our population drunk. We want to especially buff up our staple goods as well, because if you get shortages of these, your population will not be happy. Now we're at 0 prestige anyway, so going to a -5 is not bad at all. A little bit of salt as well, can't really be complaining. Some more wool. Now let's check Sevilla. Same sort of reasoning. More investment into the silver mine. Silver is insane in this game, especially if you're just jacking out the jewellery. And a lot of these early game economies just can't produce jewellery on their own without market villages, and even if you look at the production process in it, it's insanely inefficient. If I show you, yeah, down here, stone into jewellery, it's alright. And if you can't get silver or gold in your market, it's definitely the way to go rather than just trying to push through jewelleries that just don't work. It's not like Vicky where they'll make something and it won't be great. Like, if you don't have the required goods in EU5, you get nothing. Now, the buffs we get from this king are absolutely astronomical. Like, wow. 50% bonus to cabinet actions, crown power, building cost, proximity cost. That is insane. We have done well there. Right, our cabinet's back up. So, I don't really need to get any more ability, considering where he is. We could expand... Oh, gravel roads, that's what we want. So this gives us a temporary buff to our road cost. And we can just use it to spam the shit out of them, essentially. Get some control over the mountains. Then it should filter around. It's a 20% time and 20% cost reduction. So it's a huge little debuff that we can use. I've been thinking about the movement to Sevilla, but I think in this game, because we're sort of just trying to maximize our population as much as possible, it's not really worth it. But in most of my Castille games, I just go for Sevilla because you get such an economic buff out of it. Both markets of Sevilla and Burgos are very strong though, so you're not in a bad place either way. We're just sort of trying to do the best we can in the situation. Now we are at 50.01%. No, 50.1%. That's all right. If you do get to 50% exactly, you will lose, even though it shows it as green. So it's definitely something to be aware of. But while we've got this buff, we just want to make as many roads as possible. And it actually might be worth... is it? No, it's not. 20% reduction. Not worth going into debt for it. Go. Push us a little bit towards centralisation as well, albeit the natural progress will just push us back down a bit. Yet, anything helps, especially in the early game with centralisation. But on the whole, well, our control isn't looking too bad. It's slowly starting to get out. We do want to, as I mentioned earlier, though, get some bridges going, as they directly increase your proximity cost. Obviously downriver, but it's absolutely worthwhile. Especially if you've got RGO resources in your market that reduce the cost as well. So by just spamming this out a bit, this will really increase our control, which is obviously the most important mechanic in EU5, undoubtedly. As you can see, spamming out a lot of these bridges, which will reduce our proximity cost across our nation hugely. It's only 5% per province, but for 30 ducats, that's huge. Let's recheck our RGO, see if there's anything decent that we can upgrade. There we go, we've got a few good options here. How's Bilbao's tool economy going? There we go, look. So you can see it's got a 15% production efficiency bonus. 10% of that is because of the iron in the province. So it's really worth keeping an eye on your RGOs and building your resources in provinces that they can take the most out of this as possible. And that's why our economy is doing so well. Despite being murdered by the Black Death, we're getting 300 as a tax base in 1376, and our crown power is looking brilliant as well. Recheck bridges while we're here. There's one more we can do there. And the market down here. There's a few. Brilliant. But we are just raking it in at the moment, so we can pretty much spend on whatever we want. Whether that is anything as fancy as moving a capital or building up RGOs. Our silver province up here is doing really well. We're at 24% proximity. So Any ideas of increasing that would be appreciated. At the moment, however, it's not the biggest concern. Our domestic economy is quite stable, so we could make some marketplaces to try and incentivize more goods to be exported, albeit this isn't the best market in the world for doing exactly that, but we'll give it a go. We're getting 11.5 from trade, and mostly it's automated. So we might as well pull back a bit on that and do it a bit more manually. Because we've got so much silver, we could invest in a jewellery economy if it is quite profitable. Claim throne CV on Scotland. Now that is interesting. Have they got any allies? No, they don't. I'm tempted. Let's see what we can do. Our first random ass war might be upon us. And that was a direct investment of one of the royal marriages we did earlier. Now, he's got a Rowley trait, which isn't brilliant, but it's definitely worth giving him a good education. It's a double-edged sword, though, as it does increase our cost of court. That is significant for our legitimacy cost. But if you keep an eye on this, you can keep it reined in, essentially, where it's not causing you too many issues. And a claim throne on Portugal. So our brother is now the heir. And we would have inherited them straight away, but we chose to be God King instead. So our claim throne CB lasts until October. Oh no, that's them on us. Our 5 years, and if we ended our alliance, we get a 5-year truce. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get Portugal, but we can definitely go for Scotland. Just need 1 more month to get a diplomat, and then we can declare the war and give it a bloody go. Growth of the administration, so it's just the estate satisfaction, which one we want, and because our nobility aren't very happy at the moment, it's probably worth giving them some loyalty. As you can see, they're getting some rebel movements because they're below 50%. If you get them above 50%, they leave the rebel movement, which is good to know. Thank you for all the support so far, by the way. Do let me know if there's anything you want me to improve about the stream or the video. Let's fuck up some Scottish people. Now, I've just been cancelled, so if you see a picture of my face on the Daily Mail tomorrow, you'll know why. But they have 600 troops, so we can't really go wrong. So, let's see how we can fuck them up a bit. Now, we're going to raise our naval levies. We haven't got too many naval levies this game, so we won't be able to transport too many troops. So let's not overraise our troops. Albeit, Scotland does have a good army itself, so it's not worth undercutting ourselves and just getting stack wipes. Oh, we've got a new achievement. Combined arms. Have levies, an army, and mercenaries at the same time. Interesting. I forgot I had mercenaries. Oh no, they're my mercenaries. That's cool. I've forgotten about that. So I don't know if we can actually use them in battle, but we'll try. Another son. Our king is popping them out. Jesus. I mean, hopefully they get the same stats he does. Okay, we've just raised way too many levies. So we're going to chuck it into 2 stacks. We have 6 transports there. Get our naval levies up. If we increase our amount of fishing villages, it should help this. Give us a few more. I mean, I wasn't intending to send 2k alone. See, this is the issue with not having sufficient transports. What's going on? I have 15 transports. There's no way. Right, I'm getting a bit confused now. Let's take on mailed knights out and levies. Surely this can embark. Apparently not. See, professional EU5 content right now. Failing at getting my levies onto a fucking boat. What is going on? Any ideas, guys? I am insanely confused right now. We have 15 transports. Let's send 3k. I guess is what we're sending. Scotland have no troops apparently, so it's not the worst eventuality in the world. At the moment, there is a thing in EU5 in this current patch that if your levies get stack wiped, you essentially lose them forever, and it's not the best situation for them in the world. See if we can get ourselves to a town and a city, start occupying stuff, get more people transferred over, and slowly just start occupying Scotland down. In the War of the Scots Succession, they're still on 0 troops mines, so it shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world. Yeah, it's not like in our big stacks of levies. However, if they're not going to raise any troops, I don't really need to send anyone else. Do I murder the random heretic? Yes, why not? Music's a tad loud. Okay, I'll pull it back a bit. Thank you for letting me know. Is that any better? Unfortunately, the issue with EU5 music at the moment is that it is quite inconsistent and there's no music player, but it should be pulled back a bit. A little bit more lower works for me. How about that? Okay, we've just stolen a bunch of the Scottish art, which is always good. We have a bunch of money to be spent on stuff. Let's repay some loans. Pump out a few naval supplies. And we have just a lot of money to spend at the moment. It's sort of, what do we want to spend it on? So, lumber's always a good one, as it helps your base resource costs. Fair too, as it's always in high demand across Europe. So, investing in it and getting your peasants to go to it is never a bad idea. And horses is always very good for your nobility, as they want to be buying your high quality goods essentially. I'm going to send over some backup just to help us siege you down a bit faster. Albeit I don't really think it's needed, as it seems they're suffering from the stat wipe glitch at the moment, where if you just lose all your troops, you can't raise them again for about 10 years, which is overkill as hell. The temporary insanity of our God King. Brilliant. See, I jinxed it, didn't I? That's what's happened. Oh no, look at his poor stats. I mean, they're still insane stats, but come on, they were they were untouchable. Oh well, nothing we can do about it. So probably worth some more investment into Sevilla now. We don't want to focus too much on Burgos. More silver is always good. Gems, always good. Lumber is probably our biggest priority down here though, because we want to get the discount on our RGOs, and at the moment it's not happening. So by giving more masons, improving our production over wood and sand, we essentially reduce the cost of the staple goods in our nation and make it much cheaper for us to build. So is there anything you guys are struggling with in this game at the moment you'd like to ask any questions on, or give any good video ideas? Do chuck it into the chat. I've played way too much of this game, so little things that I may do that you might not have realised yet. So do let me know if there's anything you're struggling with. Apart from colonisation, that is a clusterfuck. That might be us one in Scotland, but we'll see. They just don't seem to be raising any armies. I do love EU5 when it just doesn't do anything. Sort of my biggest critique of the game at the moment is that the AI sort of takes way too long to ramp up. And we still have no viable cabinet ministers, which is an interesting one. It's going to take a long time for our children to be of age as well. So, can we find someone just random to fill the spot? Lorenzo? Nope. Nope. I mean, he's already in our cabinet. That's not good. He's in Navarra. He's in Portugal. So essentially what we're saying is I've done too good with my my dynastic ambitions. I've caused myself issues. So there might be commoners allowed in cabinet. There we go. That should help us out. I bloody hope so. Otherwise we're going to have some issues. Scotland joins us in the Union. They're not ready to do so yet. But it shouldn't be too long. Albeit they do seem to be hiring mercenaries. So let's get there and murder them when they come up. Brilliant. They are dead. Still no cabinet options. Wonder what's going on there. That is stumping me at the moment. Have you guys got any ideas why there is no options to appoint anyone to our cabinet? It is proper stumping me. So this is what I mean. EU5 it's the skill floor in this game. It's crazy. There's so much that we all know and we don't know that just makes this game so interesting to learn, because the limit on skill in this game is ginormous. Like, I still think we'll get 1,000 hours into this game and still be learning stuff. Maybe even 10,000. The little intricate modifiers. So we want to peace out Scotland, take as much money as possible, and they now are in our personal union. Brilliant. Right, the good thing about EU5 is they have taken away the issue in CK that you had to bring your people back to your own land to disband them, which made it a bit tedious. And it was realistic, don't get me wrong, but it was also very tedious. There's always a balance in these type of games between realism and playability. And in this case, playability wins. So you've also got the option for a cabinet seat, so I'm going to request one. They're always good. Brilliant. One, as you can see, costs quite a lot. But it does give you a decent amount of buffs. I'll just give you a cardinal, really. Which, if I show you guys, in the religion ski, we now have a cardinal. Woo! Well, that's our original one. But we will have a second one, which gives us more votes. However, the Great Schism is happening at the moment, and we need to side with Rome. Basically, where the French Pope, in inverted commas, is essentially trying to take control of the papacy. So we don't want that to happen in this run, at least. So we've got to be on the Pope's side. Lacking employees, wool trade. Yeah, we can knock that down a bit. Don't need apprenticeships. Don't need that. Better education, however, we definitely do need. Especially if we can't afford... Oh, well, we can't have anyone apparently going into our cabinet that isn't in the royal family. Our weaponsmiths are unprofitable, so let's subsidise them. We're missing pepper and fruit, however, there's nothing much we can really do about that, but we can try and import a bit. See if that gets anywhere. However, I do think we might have an issue with trade advantage, but we'll have to see how that goes. Definitely send our levies back to our population. And then we've got our mercs there as well. There we go. Our economy is going to have a bit of a rebound. Brilliant, as the people go back to their jobs. But control is definitely our biggest limiter at the moment. So we make some more roads, get more control into our nation. Always a good thing. Expensive, however. Very expensive. So a new cabinet. So let's have a look, see if there's anything good. Expanded mining is always useful, but we've sort of done that to death at the moment. Gathering industries are very useful. We've got a lot of them around us. Forest exploitation as well. Hunting grounds. There's quite a lot actually. I think farming estates might be the move at the moment though. Means we can spam out quite a bit of our staple goods and just improve the quality of life for our peasantry, and that can't be a bad thing because they are very easy to tax. So the more you improve their lives, the more tax you're raking in, as anything they get essentially goes straight back to you. It also gives us a reduction on our wool industry, which is obviously our fucking national industry. So buffing that up is also never a bad thing. But our economy is going very well at the moment. A 300 tax base in 1380. And obviously that's partly due to how overpowered this bloody ruler is. But it's not too shabby. Let it fall. Demand for a new cheap monastery? Go for it. And while we got this buff, it's always worth just using it to its fullest extent. Even if you think they're poor resources, everything counts in your economy. Everything can get exported by someone. you never know when something's going to be profitable. So you always need to try and improve the basis of your economy as much as possible. And often at times that is farming industries like this that you don't think are very good. But especially if we're focusing on our population in this game, we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna need food to keep our population maintained and sustained. So it's absolutely worth investing in the early game, just so we don't have these problems down the line. Because by the time you realise you don't have enough food and it's coming out of your bank balance, it's an issue, and it takes a long time to get back up to scratch. By the way, if you guys haven't liked or subscribed already, please consider doing so. I've only been doing this 3 weeks, and we've already got past 1,000 subscribers, so I'm so grateful for all of you. But I'm really enjoying finding it so interesting as well that we're able to dispel this knowledge and learn so much about this game. And don't get me wrong, I've played way too much of it. Definitely can't go on the CV, but it is. Can't really complain, to be honest. For a 1.0 Paradox game, it's very good. And compare it to Imperator Rome a few years ago. That shit show still gives me PTSD to this day. I believe I spent about 80-90 quid, which is about $100 on that game. So similar pricing to EU5, maybe even more if you guys got the basic editions. And that game has never been updated. Nothing good has ever come of it. And it is a stain on Paradox, to be honest. They probably don't want to hear the words. But they have done good here. Right, we have an issue with them falling to 18% loyalty. Because that is below the point where their levies just don't turn up. So how much does it cost to bribe them? 1,000. Okay, we're not doing that. let them rebel. I don't give a shit. I cannot afford that. But our control mapping is doing a lot better. As you can see, the bridges are coming in. The roads are doing well. We've got 37 control up in our Silver Province, which is very good. Let's get some more core resources in Valladolid, as we've got some spare burgers. Might cost us an arm and a leg, though. I'm thinking spinners might be the move, because we've got so much wool that we've just made. But we can also do rural cloth makers if we're really worried about our wool surplus. But because as you can see, it's gigantic. The sort of issue is that we've also got a huge cloth surplus. So if it isn't going anywhere, it's not really worth pushing way too much into it. But we have a gigantic surplus, so the economy isn't really an issue. How we've sort of achieved this is just by keeping a high control base over our nearby provinces, ensuring that we're utilising our wool buffs as much as possible and investing in key industries. But we prepared for the Black Death quite well. Having so many market villages really gives you a good export base, but also the possible labourers that can just merge into your industries when you have issues. So we sort of survived the Black Death, still losing 2 million people, but not really having any skills or employment shortages. And just avoiding that is a gigantic buff, essentially, but you're not dealing with that because that is a huge drain on your economy, as you've invested that and you're not seeing any ROI. Now we've got enough money, we could start thinking about urbanization. So where is quite good to urbanize here? Well, you sort of want to do it on an industry that isn't going to be nuked by you putting an RGO on it, because wine is a good example of that. We've got a huge supply of this, but there's also buildings that you can use that RGO for. And if I remember right, wine goes into distilled liquor, which is quite a good resource. So we're going to found a town here in Penafiel and see how that goes. Because, as you can see, Distillers Guilds are quite profitable in this economy. So having that 10% production efficiency buff is not bad at all. They fixed Imperator Rome? They did not fix Imperator Rome. There's no way. I refuse to believe it. Vicky 3, I actually quite like. But I do understand that it sort of looks like they've made all of these systems in Vicky 3, right? They've tested them out on a live player base, paying a lot of money to do so. And then they've just ported it over straight to EU5. It's like it was the test case for this game. And don't get me wrong, that is not the worst idea in the world, because EU5 is their biggest franchise ever. If you're excluding maybe High 4 when they have big tournaments and stuff, and they have all the LARPers out. But I think EU5 is probably their best franchise, and it will be if they do it successfully. And I think the economy system here is working quite well. But I do personally really enjoy Vicky, so if they do fix it, it'd be good. The thing that really annoyed me about Vicky isn't like the economy system or anything like that, it's just how shit the combat was. And I know it's not meant to be a combat game, and they said this so many times, but having a combat system that is just so shocking, it's just unviable. And it used to be like that in Stellaris. Stellaris is probably one of the best Paradox games now, just because they've rebuilt it from the ground up 4 times, maybe even 5 times. Like, when it first started, you had to assign your little one individual pops to different squares, and now it has a fully integrated pop system that works with the economy and everything, and that development is huge. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of investment, and them sending a lot of DLCs to make them do it. And I really don't like when they abandon a game. So whether it's Imperator Rome, and they've supposedly fixed it, albeit, to be totally honest, I will never forgive that game, regardless. But they definitely need to do something with Vicky. I mean, I like the economy system. It's not perfect, but it's okay. But the combat system for me is what kills it. So we've got... Would it be best to build in the province on the lowest cost, since its province-based production is not a single tile? I mean, your cost isn't based on province, it's based on your market in terms of your building cost. So, for example, we have a 33% debuff here on our RGOs because we've got, in the burgers market, a big lumber surplus. Now, in terms of where you should build your buildings, you should focus on your high control provinces. So, me doing a little bit of a tool market in Bilbao is not the most efficient use, but it's me long-term planning. So because I'm so rich as Castille, I've got the ability to do this. I don't have to do it the most optimal way. My sort of thinking is that in the long term, building up and moving to Bilbao and getting all these provinces with their specialized industries is going to be useful. Because you've got to think, we're building for a 500-year game. It's not that you're building for 200 years or 100 years in Vicky, or 4 years in Hoi. EU5 is ginormous, it's 500 years. So any investment you make will pay off eventually, really, even if it is a tiny, shocking investment. But it's usually worth it in the long run. You've just got to keep the faith. But as you can see, we've worked really hard to get some high control provinces here. So you are definitely right, it's probably worth us focusing on these for now. And look, we've got lumber in Segovia, so why don't we make a few carpenters in Segovia? Salamanca has wheat, so we can do a few distilleries. Ooh, lumber also boosts dye, right? So if we make a few dyes in here as well, that'd be useful. Zamora's got horses, but what have they got in the province? Wool, spinners. So spinners will be very viable here. Oh, we've already done that. I'm ahead of myself. What else is going to be useful? Distillers, they got wool, wheat, sorry. Get dye maker here going. Always need dye in this game. And our new town will get some distillers going. That was the plan, as it's got a huge wine buff. But we have just lost 4 levels in our RGO because of upgrading that to a town. So you've got to be very careful when you urbanize and make sure you've thought it through, because it's never a one-way decision. Yeah, the thing is, the game's been out like 6-7 years now. There's no reason for it to be bare bones still. It's kind of embarrassing for Paradox that they haven't done anything with it, because people spent a lot of money on it. I get as a business, you can't really afford to be refunding people, but I think that's maybe an example of one time you probably should. It was just that bad. Like, I can't defend it at all. We all thought it was going to be like an insane Roman EU5, and it was just awful. Just map painting was literally all you can do. There was no other systems in place. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate a map painter, but it just, I did not click with it at all, and I don't think anyone really did. Yeah, they did abandon it publicly, and they took a bit of flack for it because people spent a lot of money on it. But the thing is, even if they rebuilt it from scratch, would we now play it because we've got EU5? Probably not. But we would have done before. So that's probably what's come into their thinking. Right, any more bridges we can make? Ah, there we go. A few more bridges. Like I said, bridges are very good for your proximity cost. It's definitely worth doing. Especially as our proximity cost, if you have a look here, is getting quite wide. We can continue pushing towards that though. We still haven't got anywhere near centralisation. We really need to get down there. And land as well is going to be quite useful. Military regime. Interesting. So some rural cloth makers are going to be useful here because of the wall. But like I said earlier, we do have a huge cloth surplus. So getting some more fine cloth is going to be useful. But we're building quite a lot at the moment, so we're going to hold off because our building costs have gone up. So because our building costs have gone up, what can we do instead? And the answer is RGOs. As you can see, they're still cheap because masonry is the shortage we're having. The issue is with lumber, you can just spam out your RGOs and pretty much have a consistent surplus. Whereas for your masons, you can only subsidize them, but they only keep going and they can only go to their productive capacity. So if you start a huge building run like I did, making like 15, 20 buildings, you're going to overwhelm your masons, so you're going to overwhelm that discount. So I've had quite a lot of comments recently going, oh, how do we just ensure this discount is permanent from our masons? And unfortunately, it's just not possible. Unless you span it out to such a point where you're making such a huge loss on it that it's not worth doing. So I think just taking a smart, sensible approach on it and just being quite prudent about building your RGOs when you've got a building, you're waiting for your round of buildings to be completed essentially. But like I said earlier, like nothing is fixed in this game. Everything is fluid, and there's always going to be new strategies and things people can build. It's why I think always Bohemia is the strongest nation in the game, just because of the RGOs they have. Like, look at that. What the hell is that tax base? Like, the gold, the silver, it's crazy. My cat has just decided to say hi. I'm not feeding you at 2 AM in the morning. We're not doing that. Yeah, EU5 sort of took the best mechanics from everything, really. From the economy systems from Vicky, all the marriage systems and the assassinations and the intrigue from CK. I mean, not really. It's even got the tech trees from Hoi, really, sort of similar to their policy trees. Now, I haven't played Hoi in a long time, but it is an interesting little game. Come on. Now, how's our new town doing? Not great. Scriptorium. We want a hospital. It's probably worth us actually starting to look at monasteries and cathedrals just to get as much literacy as possible. Same with a royal garden in the capital. We've got the money to afford it, and they do get some good buffs. I didn't know your peasantry could make a temple though. That's news to me. I thought that was a burger building. Ah, there we go. We've got our cabinet back. So we have some very good ones again. We have urbanization, making a new town. What's that one? It's wheat. What's its control like? 72, which will give it 77 control with a temple 82. Yeah, that's probably worth it. If you didn't know, just making a town gives you 5% control in that province, and a temple gives you another 5%. Now this looks like a good event. I haven't had this yet, but I'm guessing it's because he's insane. Like, look at these buffs. Absolutely incredible. Martial educator as well, like, brilliant. We're going to go for the physical world around us, why not? Guaranteed this is an event now that like says, oh, you've got an extra 2 military power, or 20 military skill. Enjoy. Yeah, we've already got that, so it's kind of useless. But we'll see. No conspiracy theories needed from me. My American friends have got enough going on with that at the moment. So our nobles are leaving a little bit. Ah! Yeah, we've still got no one that we can get into our cabinet, which I'm finding really weird, but our children should come of age at some point. If they don't, I'd be worried. But in EU5, you never really know. You could always get a hunting accident. Ah, I shouldn't have done that. I'll get rid of the pirate haven, that's fine. There we go. More money into our economy, and we are never complaining at that. Hi, how can we improve our max control from a rural settlement really far from the capital? Sorry, I missed that one, Dreamer, if you're still here. Well, building a road to it. So a perfect example is the silver province here. It's rural, it gives us a lot of money from the silver. But we managed to get a 23% proximity, which is more than you get from a bailiff. How have we done this? Well, we've built a road there. Brilliant, we've got a new town. As you can see, a road goes straight there. We've also invested in a lot of bridges. As you can see, we've got bridges all the way up there, following the river here. And that just paints us a path of proximity up there. Now let's have a look at our new town. It's got wheat, so we've got horses, wool, lumber. So if we get a spinner's guild and a tailor's guild, maybe a brewery as well, be useful. Saltpeter's guild apparently quite viable here. Our ruler now wants to create alchemy. So I'm enjoying these insane events we're getting with our God King. 400 gold though, but we've got to fuck it. Why not? We've got to give it a go. We're here to have fun. Let's try and create more gold with the gold we've got. It can't possibly go wrong, can it? How are the audio levels looking at the moment? Still alright? I've been struggling with them for all week, really. So as long as they're alright, we're happy. But yeah, if anyone hasn't played Stellaris yet, I would recommend it. Even if you're not the most sci-fi person in the world, it is probably the most developed Paradox game so far, just because it's been rebuilt from the ground up so many times. So this is the alchemy event we've just done. We haven't created gold, but we have created a mana potion. So legitimacy, prestige, and some army tradition. And we got prestige. I mean, that's not horrific. It's not turning lead into gold though. So we've been a bit scammed there, but nothing we can really do about that one. Aha! Members leaving the Union. Well, let's vote to establish seniority. And we should hopefully be able to negotiate our succession law. We've got to improve relations though firsthand. But we're getting, this guy's getting quite old quite quickly. It's really annoying me because we're going to miss out on his insane buffs if he does die quite young. But I guess it's not young, it's just how fast the game's going. As you can see, our control map's looking quite good. Right, I've got to leave it here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to drop my sister at the coach station as she's flying off to Paris. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. Thank you for tuning in. If you guys haven't left a subscribe, please consider doing so. It all helps. Have a lovely rest of your day. And do let me know if you've got anything you'd like to hear about re EU5. Catch you guys in a bit.